Good morning, ladies. Day 2 of 20 days of nothing but the truth. The behind the scenes look at everything that I do and everything that I deal with on a day-to-day basis, and even some of my personality flaws and fears and insecurities. So I don't know about you, but yesterday's live was very emotionally draining for me. I don't know how it was for your end of the screen, but for me, sitting in front of the camera and sharing that on live video yesterday was, first of all, scary as hell to say that out loud and to not just write about it, but actually say it on camera was a totally different ballgame. And it was draining. The rest of the day, I was done. There was nothing else happening. My mind was done. So today, I figured I'll take a little bit of a lighter load because I just feel like it. And I wanted to just tell you I'm not perfect. I'm essentially just like you. Nothing separates me from you. I make mistakes. I have fears. I have insecurities. I certainly have my downfalls and my little flaws, and a lot of them are lovable little quirks, and a lot of them are also annoying. And I'm not as consistent as I want to be, so I'm going to start off today with a lighter note and just sort of list some of the weird, quirky things about me. And feel free to jump in on the bottom and let me know some of yours, so I don't feel so alone in this. So I even make myself a little list, just so you know, on my son's drawing, by the way. I don't even know what this is. I think he made stamps, and I was supposed to find the thumbs down, which I think is right there. Anyway, so I stole this paper. So, some of the quirks about me. I don't even know where to start. This is not rehearsed, by the way, so I have no idea what's going to come out of my mouth. I am not as consistent with my workouts that I want to be, even though I've been a personal trainer for over a decade. It bugs the shit out of me. I want to do it every single day. I have my mindset for doing it every day. But 9 times out of 10, I don't feel like it. Just like all of you. I don't feel like it. I know all the benefits of it. I know that once I'm done, I'm going to feel so much better and I'm going to be so much more relaxed and everything else is not going to bug me as much. But to actually get started, I struggle just as much as all my clients do. So what I do to actually convince myself to do this every day is I do it just to do it. That's really the very basic of what it comes down to. And the main reason why I think that works for me is because my workouts, when I don't do them for a while, I have tremendous back pain. I've always had that issue. It's gotten worse since I started having kids 14 years ago. I'm kind of giving away my age now, but yeah, I get tremendous back pain. It only takes like 2 days of not doing anything and I'm in pain again. So that's my biggest motivation of why I just do it, just to do it, even on the days when I don't want to. But yeah, I'm not as consistent as I'd like to be. I'd like to say I do this 7 days a week, 5 days a week even. No, on average, probably 3 days a week. It could be better. On that same token, as a personal trainer, I preach it all the time. You gotta drink enough water. Yeah, I suck at it. I really do. I've tried checklists. I've tried reminders on my phone. I don't get thirsty. I don't know what it is. I don't get thirsty. I get thirsty at the end of the day. Let me rephrase that. I get thirsty at the end of the day, like around 8 o'clock at night. And we all know what happens if you start gobbling down glasses of water at 8 o'clock at night, right? You don't sleep. You don't, because you're in the bathroom half the time. So, yeah, I suck at it. I've tried. I really have. With everything, even my organizational nerdy side comes out, and if I get 2 of these down a day, 2, I'm doing good. What else? Let's see. I hate crowds. I don't like small talk. I can do it. I can go to social events and I can mingle and I can have the little small talk conversations, but I hate them. I'm not a small talk kind of girl. I hate it when somebody asks me how are you, because they don't really give a shit what your answer is. So I will intentionally give them a long story and tell them something depressing just to see what their reaction is. So yeah, that's probably another little quirk of mine that kind of grows on you over time, I think. I like confrontation. I do. I've always, even as a kid, and I'm sure this is to my parents' delight, I always questioned everything. I never accepted anything for what it is. I always questioned absolutely everything. You know that annoying kid that always asks why? Totally me. Totally me. Why? And then to top it off, if you tell me I have to do something, oh hell no, it's not happening. If you tell me what I'm supposed to do, I will be dead set on doing the exact opposite just because I can. It's the way I am. I can't help it. It's in my DNA. And honestly, I don't even want to change that. I like that about myself. What else? I hate elevators. I get claustrophobic in elevators. Don't know what it is. Don't like them. Probably the fear of getting stuck there. I don't know. Of course, I'm supposed to tell you, I'm a personal trainer, take the stairs because it's better for you. No, I just hate elevators. I do. You will never catch me wearing high heels. Much to the effort of some of my friends who have tried to convince me otherwise when I go to formal events and actually, have to put on a dress and try to pretend to be all girly. I hate high heels. First of all, they hurt. Second of all, whoever invented this should be fined. And I hate the sound of them. I really do. I hate the clicking sound that they make. I can't walk in them for the life of me. If I have to wear heels, they might be like an inch thick, but they'll be this wide. That's my version of heels. Other than that, you're gonna either catch me in flip-flops or tennis shoes. That's pretty much what I live in. What else? I don't like velvet. I can't touch it. It gives me goosebumps. It gives me shivers. I can't touch it. I hate the smell of coconut. Makes me nauseous. Again, don't know why. It's just one of those weird things about me. But more on a serious note, why I really wanted to do this live today is I really wanted to talk to you ladies about, I get questions all the time. How do I do what I do? How do I, despite everything we're dealing with Wyatt, how do I stay positive? How do I always go out and fight the system and go up against all these against the odds battles, and on top of that try to support other moms and hold them to a higher standard? And honestly, what it comes down to for me, maybe you view this differently and feel free to let me know below, but for me it comes down to, I don't view myself as different than you. I have the mindset and always have had the mindset of wanting to take the next step forward. I don't like feeling stuck. Now, what I talked about yesterday regarding my rock bottom and all the shit that came with that, I won't go into that again because I'm not crying today. I felt stuck in that 3-year time frame, and that's ultimately what was the cause for my downhill slide there. But really, I've always, even as a kid, even as a teenager, I was never afraid to go my own path. In fact, I preferred it. I never liked following. I always liked doing my own thing. I liked a lot of solitude. That's where I do my best thinking and my best processing and coping. But ultimately, I always had this attitude of, no matter what, I trusted myself that I would figure it out. Somehow, and most of the time I had no clue how, but I would always just jump in and figure it out as I went along. So when I get feedback like that from people, like, how do you do what you do and how can you stay so positive, it kind of catches me off guard because I don't view myself as different. I don't view this as some sort of higher standard personality trait. It's just all I know. That's how I think. That's how I act. But really, I needed to share today, I'm just like you. I have plenty of days where I just want to crawl in the corner and cry. I have days where I get so pissed off at this entire medical system and all the obstacles we face with Wyatt that curse words are flying out of my mouth. My punching bag in the other room is there for a reason. It gets a lot of beatings. Let's just put it that way. I have plenty of days where the slightest little setback, whether that's Wyatt or issues with my other kids or something in my business, the slightest little setback can literally make me depressed the rest of the day. It can make me drown myself in self-pity. If anything, the only thing that makes me maybe different, I guess, is that I've learned to stop fighting those traits in me. I know they are there. I know I can just as well be down here and be anxious and depressed. And trust me, in those first 3 years of special needs parenting, I was as depressed as it gets and as anxious as it gets. I would have panic attacks in the middle of the grocery store because I couldn't pick a fucking cereal box. That kind of anxiety and depression. I was worried that after everything that happened with Wyatt, that now everything that could possibly go wrong would happen to absolutely everybody else in my family. So I was in full-blown anxiety, depression, panic attacks, and quite frankly, self-pity mode. So I think the only thing that sort of, I guess, makes me different as in this coaching position that I'm in now is I don't accept complaining. Not from my clients and not from myself. And if you're in my group momentum, you know this. I give you the space to rant because we all need to do that. I need to do that too. But I will always follow it up with some sort of a version of the question of what are you going to do about it, because there are always options. And when we're in this negative state and this complaining state and this overwhelmed and depressed and anxious state, we don't see the options because all we see is how bad everything is. That life just happens to us and we have no control in anything we do. And I have those days too. I have those days multiple times a week. Trust me. In fact, most of the time my mornings start off good. My afternoons, I'll be more in the depressed and anxious and doubting phase because I'm a morning person. By the afternoon, I'm worn out and the positivity kind of goes away, much to the disservice of my kids when they come home from school. But that's a different story. So I have those days too. It's just a matter of, I think, over time, and I actually think because of Wyatt, because of everything we face with him, I have learned to, I don't even know how to word this really. I've learned to not fight those tendencies in me, to just let them bubble up and acknowledge that this is temporary. I'm feeling this way right now for X, Y, and Z reasons, and instead of fighting against it and pretending that I need to be perfect and have all my shit together all the time, it's okay to just cry for an hour. It's okay to just be angry. It's okay to not want to do this. And then really over time, this had a lot to do with my downfall actually. Over time I just learned that those phases, the less I fought them, the shorter they were. So if I went down the whole guilt trip lane of I'm overwhelmed and life happens to me and X, Y, and Z is going to happen now and I have no control over this, the longer I fought that and tried to fix it, the longer that phase actually took, the more depressed I got, the more anxious I got, the more overwhelmed I was with life, the more I felt out of control and stuck. So once I allowed myself to actually feel that kind of stuff, which is a huge step for me, I kind of hate the girly side of me when my feelings get the best of me. So for me to actually essentially surrender to those feelings and say it's just a phase, it's a part of me, it's gonna come up, made it last a lot shorter. That was totally wrong grammar, by the way. I'll blame my German side on that. Anyway, so the time frame that I was depressed and anxious and overwhelmed would be a lot shorter if I actually didn't fight it so much. If I let it come up and if I acknowledge those feelings and then ask myself exactly what I ask all my clients and what I ask in my group all the time. what are you going to do about it? Okay, you're depressed, you're angry, you're anxious, what are you actually going to do about it? Are you going to sit there and be the victim, or are you going to do something about it? And that's the choice I give myself every day. That's the decision I had to make for myself a few years ago, where I was at rock bottom, and it was either, and I'll go into this in the next few days because this is a long topic actually, but it was either a matter of I could surround myself with the people who also like to complain, and we can have a nice little self-pity party. And I actually caution a lot of the moms that I talk with online about this too. There are a lot of support groups out there. There we are. Sorry about that. Lost my Wi-Fi for a second. There are a lot of support groups out there for different reasons. There are support groups where you go to ask specific medical questions. There are support groups specifically for your local area. There are support groups also where the focus is just on the kid. Then there's support groups like mine where the focus is just on the mom. But what I caution a lot of new special needs parents about is feel out the vibe of the group. Is it a group who is supportive and empowering, and who, despite the cards you've been dealt, tries to find the positive in everything and tries to encourage you to move forward? Or is it a group who likes to just vent and complain? And there's a time and space for both of these. Don't get me wrong, I'm not dodging one or the other. I'm just saying you have to get to a point, and I guess this is why the question comes up all the time, how do I do what I do? I have made the decision to stay away from that type of group, from that kind of people, from that kind of environment that holds me back, that holds me down, that keeps me depressed, that reminds me of everything I'm up against, because I don't need those reminders. I already know what I'm up against. So I don't need to surround myself with that type of quote-unquote support system, or those type of people that are in that same boat, that are in that victim mode of being depressed and anxious and negative and complaining, and life happens to me and I'm stuck and I have no control. Hi, Julie. And I made that decision, and ultimately I think it is in my personality. I've always, like I said earlier, I've always been that way, to pave my own path. But when I became a mom, you start to second guess yourself, and you fall into the trap of thinking about everything you should be doing to be this, whatever the ideal is of the perfect mom. And when Wyatt came along and special needs parenting gig started, I definitely fell hard into that little trap of there's a certain way I'm supposed to be doing things. And it totally didn't line up with who I was, but my kid's life kind of depended on me going that route. So for a long time I lost my footing because the should didn't align with me. And when the should doesn't align with yourself, then it's also really not helping your kid any either. And it took me a long time to realize that. So yeah, I guess the difference, if you want to even call it that, is I have all the same emotions that all of you have. I go through the same struggles that all of you do. I have just as many days where I don't want to show up here every day, and where I don't want to be a mom, and I don't want to do the special needs gig, and I want things to just be easy, and plenty of days where I just want to be invisible, because like I said, I'm actually more of an introvert, believe it or not. So the difference, I guess, is I've made a decision to carefully choose my environment. I made a decision to not be around people who are giving me the pity or the sympathy speeches, or who just do the small talk, because it's not my thing. And it's nothing against any of these people. All of these comments are well-meaning, but they're just not aligned with who I am. So they are not holding me to a higher standard. And that's a decision that I think I've kind of subconsciously always made in my life, but when I hit that rock bottom, like I said, a few years ago, it became blatantly clear that I need to step up my game again, and I need to once again draw very clear boundaries and decide, even on the days where I don't want to do any of this, where I don't want to show up, where I don't want to get dressed, where I don't want to deal with the schools and the DMEs and the medical stuff and all the shit that comes with being a special needs parent of a medically fragile kid. I made a decision that I'm going to surround myself with people that I actually look up to. Because when you do that, you hold yourself to a higher standard. And it's not a matter of I should be doing what they're doing. It's simply a matter of being aware of where you're not holding up your end of the bargain, where you're playing small and where you're playing victim, and where you're kind of being stuck in this whole overwhelm stuff when really you do have other choices. You're not seeing them at the moment because your mindset is so focused on life happens to me and I have no control, whereas that is totally not true. The cards we've been dealt, we might not be able to choose. I certainly didn't choose what was going on with Wyatt and what is going on with him. I certainly would have preferred for him to just come out a happy, healthy baby and not have any medical issues whatsoever, but that's not the way it is. So I had to decide, this is the way it is, so what am I going to do about it? Like I said earlier, I'll always ask with all my clients, whether they're in my group, whether they're one-on-one clients, whether it's in my upcoming group coaching programs, I always ask you, what are you going to do about it? Because that's what the difference is. Talking is for therapists, to be honest. My opinion, you might think differently, so don't take offense to this, but talking, in my opinion, is what therapists are for. Because in those sessions, you get to complain about your day and you get to talk about all the stuff that you don't like and point out different flaws and blame other people and all that shit. I'm not about that at all. And like I said before, I will give you the space to vent, but I'm always going to follow it up with, what are you going to do about it? What's your role in this? What part in this whole story that you just told me do you actually have control over? And why aren't you doing anything about it? So maybe that's the difference. I don't know. You tell me. Why are you following? Why are you listening to me? Why are you in my group? Why do you ask me questions? I mean, what is the difference? I don't know. I honestly don't have a specific answer on why people think that I have things more figured out than they do, because I honestly don't. On a day-to-day basis with my kids, I wing it half of the time. I do. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the difference is. You tell me. Tell me in the comments below. Enlighten me, because I don't know as far as I'm concerned. Based on what I see here behind the scenes at home, I cry, I get overwhelmed, I get anxious, I get depressed. In fact, I have underlying anxiety and depression that I have to fight every single day. And I have to make that decision every single day that it's not gonna rule my life. And it's a daily decision. It's sometimes an hourly decision. This happy-go-lucky, positive person that you see on video isn't always the same person that's behind the scenes. And I'm not afraid to admit that, because I don't believe I have to be perfect to be a good coach. I don't believe I have to have everything figured out to be a good coach. And my clients agree. And that's reassuring for me, of course, but really all it takes is I need to just be a few steps ahead of you. Just like I seek out the people that are ahead of me so that they can hold me to a higher standard and they can make me aware of what I'm doing or not doing and where I can step up my game. That's the job definition that I see for myself. I just need to be a few steps ahead of you so that I can help you along the way. I don't have to have everything figured out. I don't have to be perfect. I'm far from it. So yeah, I'm really not that different from you. Maybe you see it differently. I don't know. let's jump on over to my group Momentum and let's chat about it some more. Because after yesterday's post, there were a lot of good conversations going on, so you might want to join in. I'll see you ladies there. I will make sure to also post the link below this video if you don't want to be hanging out on Facebook every day to get all these videos. I will upload them to my YouTube channel. So I will make sure to post the link below this video so you can check in there if you want to have it all in one place instead of scrolling through. So I'll talk to you ladies soon. Bye. If you have any questions, let me know. You know where to find me. Bye.